Hello, welcome to Sheepdog Says. I'm Sheepdog, and today I was going to do a video about the fact that I was playing games with my son, and I've realised that even though he's 5, he is just better than me at games in general. But it led to a list I started making of when I was his age, what I played, and I've noticed a pattern for all of my games. It literally goes on and on. There are very few games where I can say I was good at that and I did it well. Um, my first ever console I ever owned. So I'm going to go. This is a bit of a history of my gaming life, which hopefully will be interesting to a lot of you because I do a gaming podcast, and most of you have listened to that in the past. Mature Gamer. It came out this morning, so episode 297. I think we're this close to 300. But anyway, first console I ever got was a Master System 2 with Alex Kidd in Miracle World. I was convinced it was called Alex the Kid. My sister still calls it that. It blows my mind that it's not called that. It's quite a common mistake that people have made apparently. But I was terrible at that game, and I still am now. It gives me migraines trying to do anything with it. The furthest I ever got in it was there's a point in the game where it looks like your options are it's just a dead end. There's a wall, there's lava, you run in the lava, you die, there's no way out of it. And I used to go into that bit as a kid, I'd try and jump over it and fail, because you can't, and wouldn't know what to do. So I'd end up I remember just running into the lava, being furious, and just rage quitting the game. And it's only years later as an adult I wondered on YouTube, I thought, well, how the hell do you even do that? And there's an invisible gap in the wall that you jump through. I've got a feeling I've said about this on the videos before, but that blows my mind. I didn't know that as a 5-year-old. I wouldn't have even considered that. And it's just weird gaming without the internet as a kid, because obviously I could have just looked that up if it was nowadays. But I also had Rambo, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 on the Master System. I had a light gun that you basically held right up. Well, you're supposed to just shoot from wherever you're sitting, but I used to go right up to the screen and scratch it along my dad's nice like whatever those TVs were called, they're just the really blocky ones. His TV was just all these lines across it where I'd scratched just plastic across. Again, I didn't ever really get far in there. I didn't play that as often because I kept ruining the telly, but I remember getting really far in it and like discovering there were hand grenades you could use and stuff like that. I never completed it, never got anywhere near completing it. I was dreadful at it. Sonic 2 on the Master System, which is different from Sonic 2 on a Mega Drive. I used to always get to the hang gliding mission in that. You'd basically have to press the buttons, he'd run to the edge of the cliff, my Sonic would just fly off and die. Everyone else in the world would just soar off in the wind and do whatever and play the game. I tried playing that as a teenager and still couldn't do it. I think somebody helped me get past that, and then I played the game and like wasn't great at it. I think I still got to the end, and that one's quite tragic. At the end of that game, like you're supposed to collect the emeralds because Tails has been caught by Eggman, and if you don't, you just get him kind of weeping as he's like Robo Tails has been like turned into a cyborg and harvested for parts or whatever, and if you don't get all the emeralds, you don't rescue him. That's very, very dark. I feel like games changed a bit after that period. When I got my Mega Drive, I was no better at Sonic then. I remember I couldn't get past the labyrinth zones on Sonic 1. I'd always do the level cheat to get past it. Sonic 2 I was okay at. I completed that lots as a kid, that's fine. But Sonic 3, I used to do Carnival Night Zone and get stuck on this. There was a drum, and I'm sure I've mentioned this. There was a drum you had to jump up and down on, and all you had to really do was press down and roll through it. And a friend of mine showed me it as an adult, and I was like, that is so simple. But I didn't know that at the time. I was terrible at it. I remember I had this 3-in-1 game pack thing with Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, and Revenge of Shinobi on it. And Golden Axe, I could get to the end boss bit, but there was a hole, and I couldn't make the jump, and I'd just jump in it again and again and again and again. And the only time I ever jumped over it was one of the baddies hit me, and I flew over it, and I was like, yes! And then I went into the end battle and just got annihilated because there's absolutely no way. They just do special moves that lock the screen and you can't avoid them. So I don't have any idea how I've never YouTubed that one. Maybe I should. I might make a note to YouTube it because I just can't get my head around how on earth you would even do that. Similar kind of issue with the end bit of Streets of Rage 1, because there'd be these 2 women that would beat the hell out of you as you tried to get through the door to the final boss. I think I managed to beat them maybe 2 or 3 times, but when you go through the door, the final boss just beats the heck out of you again, and I again didn't know what to do, and it just wouldn't work. I think that you just go and carry on attacking them, but I'd never get there enough times to figure it out. So again, it's one that I just couldn't do. I'd love to see the ending of that. I imagine it's probably quite basic because of the era, but I just feel like my son would probably blitz through these. Not that I'd let him play these sorts of games. That's an odd one as well. I'm really surprised that it was normal back then for kids to play games about like, well, vigilantes fighting mobs and stuff. Revenge of Shinobi was another one I had on that little 3-pack, and I never got anywhere with that. I remember getting to level 2 on it, level 2, and being surprised that there was a level 2. That's a very similar thing actually, and this was a side note I'd forgotten about until just now, but there was a Simpsons game a friend of mine had where you started in Springfield and there was no instructions, and we just went back and forth trying to figure it out, and then I figured out that you had to paint everything that was red purple or purple red. So like Mo would come out with a purple top on, or you'd spray paint him in red, and that would unlock that part. And if you completed all of that, there was a second level where you were at the bowling alley and you do other stuff, and we were just like, what? And yeah, flabbergasted. But again, I never went anywhere with that. There was also a Flintstones game, and I remember sitting at my friend's house for hours and taking it home and borrowing it for weeks and trying to get past this level where you just had to paint the Flintstones house. But for some reason, say that the circle was the house, there was a window, and you couldn't get this one little bit of paint, this one little triangle would not paint. The controller didn't line up with it. So there was no way to get past the level. And we spent so much time trying to figure out how on earth you did it, and it just wouldn't let us do it. It was glitchy or whatever. And again, I don't know how many levels that game would have had, but it's weird to think that something as simple as that would have made that game take us, or me, at least a month or more to complete, or never complete, because it was just impossible for a kid to get their head around. Even like Mario games, which are like the most polished games to hell, I've never been able to get past Wendy's Castle on Super Mario World. That has the fortune of giving you the Star Land, so you can circumvent all the difficult bits. So I've completed that game, but that is, I believe, the only... maybe Mario 1 I've completed, because that seems easy. You just jump over him and hit the axe. But I never completed Mario 2. I never completed Mario 3. Yeah, I remember the newer Marios I just couldn't do. So I'm pretty sure I've never completed a proper Mario game other than Mario 1 and Mario World. Just having a look down my list. I never got anywhere with all fighting games I've ever had, or driving games on any level other than easy. I was terrible at them. Street Fighter, I didn't know had stories to it. I only ever played the easy fights, which never gave you story. Mortal Kombat was the same. Again, I don't know why I had Mortal Kombat as a kid. That seems a bit nasty. Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast. So this didn't even go just through my childhood. This went right into my teens. Sonic Adventure 1, I got to the final boss. Couldn't do it. Tried a million times. That let you at least save beforehand. That was in a era where you could just replay the same level. Couldn't do it. Sonic Adventure 2, couldn't do the level where you're Rouge or Rogue or whatever her name is, and you're flying around trying to find the emeralds. I've watched that on YouTube, and I still don't know why I couldn't do it, but never did. It used to make me really dizzy though, so I gave up. I also had Shenmue 1, which had a Shenmue 2 and 3, or 2's out already and 3's coming out. I couldn't get past the warehouse racing bit where you're driving around in a forklift truck, and that wrecked me. And I'm nervous thinking I want to buy this Shenmue 3 pack when it comes out, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get past that bit, and that's going to wreck it for me, so I need to have skip missions. And even now as an adult, I've played FTL. I've got videos on my channel of me playing FTL, and I just can't complete that for the life of me. I've tried that a billion times. I've played that game more than any other game in the history of games, and I can't do it. It's just impossible. The final boss is ridiculous. You have to do too many weird things and multitask too much. And I imagine what I need to do is pause after every go and think what I'm doing, but I've never tried that. Maybe I need to try that. But it's just hard. I'm terrible at games, and I'm hoping, I've got this niggling doubt in my head now that I've spoken about some of this before, so if I have, I'm really sorry. I'm sure I brought it up on podcasts before. If I've done a video about it, that's even more tragic, but it's bound to happen eventually. But at the moment, my son just gets on games and he's great at them. I'm thinking I'm tempted to get him on these games, maybe not the gory ones, and just see how he does. Put him on Alex Kidd in Miracle World and just see if he completes it. Because if he does, then the kid's a prodigy or a normal child, and I'm just a dweeb. But I'm tempted to put him on it and see. I really want to get a Switch at some point this year so I can get back into the Mario games, check out the new Pokemon game that's meant to be coming out, play Zelda Breath of the Wild. I desperately need to get a Switch. I bought cryptocurrency in the hope that it would inflate enough that I could buy one. I'm hoping I get some Amazon vouchers for some bits I'm doing with someone, and that might go towards it, but I'm desperate to get a Switch now so I can try and get my kids into these games and play them, because there isn't really anything on the Xbox and all of that they can play. They played Descenders with me, the BMX bike racing game I played on for the podcast this week, and again my son was way better at it than I am. He was blitzing off on the bike, I was falling off it. I'm just not cut out for gaming, but I do persevere. I prefer the story-driven ones that let you skip the hard bits. You know, Grand Theft Auto let you do that. I think Last of Us might have even let you do that. I tried with Arkham Knight. I just persevered and got over it and fixed it all and solved everything on that. I'm quite proud of myself for that one. That's probably my peak for being a grown-up and persevering through. But no, I suck at games, and that's the moral of this video. So yeah, thanks for watching. And it's a bit of a random one. I'm hoping I've not repeated too much here. If I have, then I owe you a video. But thank you very much. Hit subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.